Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience on YouTube. Manifest your truth. And here in the last few days, we had breaking news that BMF, Black Mafia family, is in somewhat still existence, which I did not know and was not aware of. Evidently, here in St. Louis, the federal government came in and indicted 35 people from BMF, arrested 22 for distribution of fentanyl, heroin, meth, and cocaine. And supposedly they laundered over $1 million in proceeds. This is somewhat troubling with all the other craziness that's going on in the world. I thought after Big Meech and Southwest T got arrested in the early 2000s that BMF was non-existent. I even seen a Vlad TV interview with J-Bo, who was from St. Louis, and he was part of this new indictment. We have to get to a point for all these people. If they were in BMF, they have to be in their mid-40s, early 50s, and to still be selling drugs after many of them had already been to prison from the early 2000s and have just gotten out, and to go back to trying to destroy our in their own community is just ridiculous. And us as black people, we have to get away from this fairy tale existence that debauchery, denigration, deleterious behaviors such as selling drugs, scandalous rap lyrics from young men and young women, the salacious, overly sexualized. All of this is very, very terrible and puts a very dark light on us in the black community. And for these guys to be in their 40s and 50s and still selling drugs is ridiculous. When are we going to get to a point where education, family, doing something positive with your life becomes the measuring stick for what a real man is supposed to look like and be like, and or a real woman? The rap music is filled with drugs and sex. People, fentanyl, the opioid crisis is in full effect. Black folks are not bringing it into the country, but once it gets here, we are definitely the benefactors of selling it and using it. And that is terrible. And we need to have more African American folks saying that wrong is wrong. And that does not make you pro-white, anti-black, and Uncle Tom. This new indictment with BMF sheds a terrible light on St. Louis. I remember back in the early 90s, St. Louis was one of the top 3 hubs that BMF had initiated their drug distributions throughout the country from. Atlanta and St. Louis are like kissing cousins. There are several St. Louisans that live in Atlanta. People go back and forth from Atlanta to St. Louis all the time. That's been going on since the late 80s. And we have to find a better way besides entertainment and athletics to be successful, positive, constructive human beings. And we gotta stop blaming other people for our existence in America. Some of this stuff that we're doing to ourselves is self-inflicted. And I felt the need to do a video expressing how BMF, how could that even still be a storyline? When BMF came into St. Louis, they went straight to the west side of St. Louis, the West Side Mob, and started their drug distributions. And I was very familiar with several guys that were a part of that organization. We have a tendency to, even on YouTube, to put Meech, Southwest T, Suge Knight, Puffy all on this banter or this portal to where we pay homage to a lot of the terrible negative things that they've done to themselves and to our community. I don't think there's anything worth talking about with Big Meech and his brother and the large amounts of drugs that they distributed throughout America and definitely in the urban community. We act like they are some kind of folk hero. Suge had a $300 million company. There were multiple deaths around death row in his organization. Tupac Shakur, the rapper, ended up succumbing to a violent death in Las Vegas. Now Suge is doing 28 years in the penitentiary. Big Meech is doing 20, 30 years in the penitentiary. And we still get on this internet space and talk about them like they went to Harvard Law School or owned an accounting firm or became great doctors. This advocation for negative and terrible behavior that we continuously promote through our music and through entertainment and through these storylines is not the right direction that our young people need to go in. And then to see these 45 and 50-year-old guys repeating the same dumb behavior that they did in the 90s and the 2000s that sent them to the penitentiary in the first place is ridiculous for them to go through this again. And this whole no snitching rule, every time these guys go to jail, the first thing they do is snitch. That's how they get these deals cut with the feds. And, a lot of this hypocrisy, it's talking out of both sides of their mouths, promoting this to young people, to be tough, to be dumb, to not promote education, to no snitch, makes not an ounce of sense. We are not marketing ourselves and promoting libraries, reading, advocating education, being righteous, being positive, and going in the right direction. We have a tendency in the urban market through our music and entertainment to want to promote going into a negative space. And that's not healthy, it's not long lasting, it's a short, unfulfilled fallacy of a dream. And we need to have more people talking about these kinds of behaviors. BMF back in the day were putting up billboards that BMF runs the world, owns the world. Their entire business was illegal and negative and detrimental to themselves and society. And in what strange way, psychologically, did they think they were going to sell hundreds of millions of dollars of drugs in the United States and never go to jail or get caught? So the level of thinking, the level of consciousness is harmful, delusional, and is not the right path to go down. And now you're seeing this repeated behavior because many of these individuals spent most of their young years doing things that were detrimental, deleterious, and negative throughout their life. So they get caught selling drugs, go to jail, they know nothing else, get out, and they go right back to selling drugs, and they're going to go right back to jail. And this time they're going to probably get life. So young people need to look at these decisions that these older folks have made. These older folks need to look at the decisions that these young people are making, and especially in the urban market, and it's not creating a healthy society. So yes, we had 35 people indicted from BMF, which I thought was defunct, no different than BLM, Black Lives Matter, which is defunct. and has been accused of misappropriation of over $95 million. They never protested black on black crime. Um, we have too many drugs, too many guns on the street. We have an uptick in gang violence, shoplifting and looting. We have this entire underbelly that's taking place, that's brewing in America for the middle class, white and black, but it is decimating the black community. We already have very little resources, culturally, socio-economically, intellectually. We're at the bottom. So we need to make better decisions to move up the ladder in life, up the ladder corporately, up the ladder intellectually, philosophically, psychologically, and we need to do better. So let's not praise BMF, Big Meech, Suge Knight, Puffy Combs. Let's try to have some other leaders like Martin Luther King. There are people out here that are trying to do positive things in the black community. We need to promote those things. We need to stop loving, following, and liking all these YouTube video channels on prison stories, YouTube channels on sexiness and denigration of women. It's amazing how trying to develop and start a YouTube channel talking about positivity, being righteous, God-fearing, it gets very few followers and likes. We need to go to somewhat of a semi-conservative lean in life. Black folks used to be very conservative in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and even the 70s. And now we've created this panacea of anything goes, and to be super duper liberal, no snitching, defund the police, which makes no sense, but is becoming a harbinger and a heavy weight on the black and urban community. Let's promote positivity. Hopefully BMF, just like Black Lives Matter, BLM, will be finally defunct for good. Let's live in a positive, good light. Let's be able to see through what's real from what's fake. Let's manifest our truth in the right direction. And let's have a PhD in common sense. You cannot build a career selling drugs. It's harmful to you and it's harmful to your community. So let's be positive. Let's manifest our truth in the right direction. And that starts today. Each and every day, do something where you're trying to be successful, to be a learner, and that has no destination point. That's a continuum that you should be trying to strive for each and every day. So, BMF had 35 indictments here in St. Louis, 22 arrests. Hopefully this will be the end of BMF, and let's start moving forward and building up these inner city schools, seeing more African American men and women going to college, seeing more African American men and women going to trade schools, and doing something of substance, positive YouTube videos, and those things of those nature. Let's have less prison story video channels. Everybody knows and has heard what goes on in prison. Let's try to promote positive, healthy rap music and music in and of itself. We're getting so far away on the pendulum to this negative, devilish, hellish existence that we're going to lose an entire generation of folks. Let's not have a purging of the black community where we are accountable for over 70% of it, with gun violence, assaults, murders. Let's change this narrative today. So, thank you for listening to the Trevor Donald Experience on YouTube. Manifest your truth. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Let's not promote selling drugs and debauchery, please check me out, the Trevor Donald Experience podcast on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Buzzsprout. And let's live our lives in harmony, in love, and in righteousness.